This week's video, are buy-to-let properties a bad investment in 2024? This is part one of our property series, and we've used data from 1995 to 2024 to work out the returns you would have received on your buy-to-let property. We've also used then data to compare that to, so we've used a global equity fund, so stocks and shares, and then we've made projections of how they would both look in the future. So the returns you would receive if you were to buy a buy-to-let portfolio today based on the past data, and the same with the global equity portfolio, and we've used a pension and an ISA wrap of a tax efficiency. Past data isn't reflected of future returns, so if you are thinking of investing in buy-to-lets or in a global portfolio, I recommend speaking to a financial advisor first. This video doesn't constitute advice. It uses past data and analysis of how that data would look in a theoretical future. The example is based on a basic rate taxpayer purchasing a buy-to-let property on a capital repayment mortgage to provide them with income and a resaleable asset for retirement. The alternative would be putting that disposable income into a pension or stocks and shares ISA in a global equity fund, which is nearly 100% equities. So we're going to begin by using a chart which is the average price of property in the United Kingdom on a 29-year property return between June 95 and June 2024. The average price of a property in June 1995 was 56,033. Then, as you can see, the trajectory all the way up to June 2024, where average prices were 287,924. This gives us an average return of 5.6573% per annum. So here we've got a 29-year property return based on June 95 to June 2024. So what we're going to do, we're looking at some projections into the future for a basic rate taxpayer. So we start off with the average price of property in June of 2024, which was 287,924. Costs here, so that's stamp duty, legal fees and survey fees, so there's your total cost. And then we're going to try and project if this data was the same, so a 5.6573% growth rate, how much would this property be worth in 29 years? So we've taken into account some costs, so we've got maintenance here at 1% of the property value per annum. So that's £181,461 over 29 years. And then you get 20% tax relief on that, which would be 36,292. So property value, so from 287,924, 29 years at 5.6573, you'd have a property worth 1,479,498. So we take the value of the property, maintenance, obviously we've taken tax relief from, capital gains tax, and obviously initial fees don't count as profit either. So we've got a net gain of 1,039,827. Over here we have rent. So average in June of 2024 was £1,310. Average rental increase per annum between 1989 and 2022 was 3.71%. So that's why we've used that. Total rental income would be 820,668. 10% management fee is typical, and there's obviously your tax relief, as is a 5% in occupancy. Income tax at 20%, that's based on your rental income, and here's your net gain down there. So we're going to mortgage this 287,924, 90% mortgage, so 10% deposit, a 259,131 mortgage over a 29-year term, and 5.62% interest was an average between 1995 and 2022. So a lot of averages here to try and keep things fair, which would result in a monthly repayment of 1,511 per month. We have a total mortgage cost of 525,756 plus a deposit of £28,792. Here we have the mortgage interest rate relief. So you will only receive interest rate relief at 20%, even if you're a higher or additional rate taxpayer. And you only receive the relief on the interest amount, not on the capital repayment. This means there is an argument to be had on whether buy-to-lets are beneficial for higher or additional rate taxpayers, because they're only receiving basic rate relief, whereas with a pension, as an example, you receive higher or additional rate relief. So we've got a net gain here, net gain there, minus a net cost, a total gain of £1,088,473. An alternative to property investment would be a pension. So here is a 29-year pension return based on the same period, so June 95 to June 2024. I've chosen a global equity fund, so stocks and shares. It's Royal London's worldwide fund. Not many worldwide funds went back that far, so hence we're using them. So no affiliation or leaning towards this individual fund. So we take the 4975, which is the deposit, stamp duty, legal and survey fees, along with the monthly mortgage repayment of 1511. We get basic tax relief on both, which means an initial of 51,218 and monthly deposits of 1,888. Total invested was 566,803 excluding tax relief, which grew to £2,471,219. So you can then take 25% of that total value tax-free, which leaves 617,804. Remainder of 1,853,414. We're going to use this to provide an income for 30 years, so from 60 to 90. And we're going to assume no additional growth. So let's say it's all in cash and we've got no interest on that. It will provide an income of £46,388 per annum. And that's after tax, so it's based on 24-25 taxation. Or total post-tax income, so including the 25% tax-free, of £2,009,444. Total amount invested, including tax relief, initially was 51,218, 1883, which included tax relief per month, 706,502 invested in total, which made a total return of £2,471,219. So there is an alternative for those that like to access the funds whenever they want. So this is a stocks and shares ISA return. So same data. We have the £40,975 as previous, but unfortunately now, as it's an ISA, you can only put £20,000 per annum in. So what I've chosen to do, I've increased the monthly payment by £60 per month, which will mean that we will deplete the majority of that over the 29-year period. Only £95 is left over, but for simple calculations, so we take 1571, put that into the ISA along with the £20,000. Total invested is 566,708. Same growth as previous, obviously in the pension, but now every single penny of that is tax-free. So not a single penny of tax we need to pay. Obviously, it is slightly less than what the pension came out at the very end, even after tax. But still, you have access anytime, zero tax regardless of the growth. But there is a £20,000 per annum investment limit, which you don't have with a pension. It's obviously £60,000 at the moment. And you also have carry forward allowance, which allows you to carry forward previous allowances if you haven't used them. There is a benefit of a junior ISA though, so you can have the same as above, but with a £9,000 max contribution for a children's ISA. Here's the chart again. So as we can see, I've gone £20,000 initial investment, 1571 per month. Total amount invested, 566,708. And you can see here the growth trajectory and the value at the end, which was obviously £1,957,489, completely tax-free. This study was based on averages, so there will be some people who have buy-to-let properties that have performed better or worse than the data that's been supplied. And this was merely to break down all of the potential earnings and costs that are related to a buy-to-let property to be able to see what the actual return is, as sometimes it can be quite difficult to work out. If you're a higher or additional rate taxpayer, then the returns in the buy-to-let video will be lower due to the increase in taxation. If you're a higher or additional rate taxpayer now, and you're going to be a basic rate taxpayer in retirement, then the returns on the pension would also be higher. Tune in next week and we'll be conducting a very similar experiment, but this time with 17 years worth of data. So it'll be from June 2007 to June 2024, and the difference in returns on a 29-year period versus a 17-year period on a buy-to-let property is quite eye-opening. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn or send me an email. Thank you very much.